Today I'm going to show you how to use a powerful tool you can download free from Quixel.com called Quixel Mixer to use Megascans library textures to create your own custom pieces of texture or landscape using static meshes that you can displace right in the Unreal Engine. And so I'll show you how to create these textures, how to import them to the engine, add displacement, enable collision, and ultimately turn the mesh to nanite. All right, so I'm going to move over to Quixel Mixer to get started. All right, so I've opened up Quixel Mixer here, and I'm just going to select New Mix here from the splash screen, and I'll just leave it as untitled, and I'll select 4K as my working resolution. So by default, you get this plane, and of course you can select a different 3D asset, a custom model, or a different size of plane here, for example. For this example, I'm just going to work with this default size 2x2 meter plane, and I'm going to go to my local library where I've got a bunch of Megascans textures already downloaded. And I want to make something like some maybe rocky ground with some puddles in it. So what I want to do here is I'm just going to search here for rock, and I'll select something to start with here, maybe mossy beach rocks. All right, so we get this as our first layer here, and what I want to do is make something sort of customized, something that I'm going to make myself out of a handful of materials. But I'll keep it pretty basic here. So what I'm going to do is just grab another material here, maybe this chipped mossy rock. And now I'm looking at a blend of the two materials, the two layers, I should say. And so what I can do here is control the height of either of these layers, and that'll control the blend here between the two. So if I adjust that height, that's happening. If I go to the mossy beach rocks and adjust that height, we get that. And you can also adjust things like the blend radius. Okay, so getting a bit closer in here, if you look at the way the rocks are blending with the sand, as I adjust the blend radius, we're seeing a much harder edge, or we're getting sand that comes up onto the rocks a little bit here. So that's helpful to be able to adjust that. Preserve details, you can decide which layers details you want to use more of, or if you want to blend them. Wrap to underlying, depending on the textures that you're using and the blend that you're looking to create. You may want to adjust this slider. Honestly, I like to just play with kind of all of these sliders when I'm adding these layers and see what the effect is and what I might want to keep or change. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and add another layer here. We'll go back to the library. Maybe I'll add just this rocky ground one here. Okay, and so with this one here, I'm going to, let's say I'll adjust the height a bit here. And let's see, blend radius a little bit. Okay. I'm going to adjust the albedo. So I don't really like this color in the sort of the look that I'm going for. It's sort of really yellow to me. I'm not really happy with that. So I can just click here on the albedo, and I can tint this however I like. So let's say I want to make this darker, or maybe I wanted to make something like this could be white and this might be snow. Or I could make this maybe like a greeny color and make it like a sort of a moss layer or something like that. Or maybe sand. I was thinking more like sand, and so I'm going to go back to a brown and do something maybe like in this range here. All right. And so now what I'm going to do is I want to add some puddles. And so I can add a water layer here, a liquid layer, I should say. And just like that, I've got some puddles. And I can control this threshold here is going to be sort of how, basically the same as height. Cover the whole thing here, or none at all. And we can also set a handful of other options here. Radius is going to be blending, radius, detail, preservation, and turbidity. So the surface, I can make this really thick or really see-through. The depth will kind of have the same effect, but in a different way. And we can also adjust the moisture of what this is going to affect is the surrounding texture, and basically how much water or moisture is leaking into the the surrounding area. It's really, just adjusting a lot of the roughness and blending the liquid layer texture a little bit into the rest of the texture, the rest of the layers here. Okay, so with that done, what I'm going to do now is just export this to Unreal Engine. So I'll go to export here, and I'm just going to set an asset name here. I'll call this Rocky Puddle Ground. And it's going to create a subfolder here. I have that checked. And I'm going to, I'm just going to uncheck metalness here. I don't need a metalness map for this. We just want these 5 maps. So that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and use those settings and export to disk. Okay, and just before I hop over to Unreal Engine here, I'm just going to take a look here again at the layers. And I'm just going to use the eyeball here next to the layers to disable one layer at a time here so we can see their contribution to the total sum of the texture here. So the mossy beach rocks is contributing that, and the chipped mossy rock is of course that part. Rocky ground is that part, and of course the water. Okay, so I've moved over to Unreal Engine here, and I've just made a new blank project with the starter content enabled. And the first thing that I'm going to do is just drag in that folder that I exported from Quixel Mixer. I'll just drop that in my content folder here. And I'll make a new material now. So I'll click on the albedo map here, right click, say create material, and I'll call this the Rocky Puddle Ground _MAT. Okay, and I'll open that up, and what I want to do next is drag in the other maps that I need here, the AO map, the normal map, and the roughness map. I'll drag those into the material here, and we'll plug all those in. All right, and next thing I'm going to do is I want to borrow a plane shape from the starter content here. So I'll just find that under Shapes, Shape Plane. I'll just duplicate it, call this one my Rocky Plane, and I'll just drag that to the content folder. All right, and what I want to do is I'll drag one out into the world here. Pull it up a bit here. I can delete this player start, I won't need that. And what I want to do is select the plane and go over to modeling mode. And first thing I want to do is remesh this. So I'll say remesh, and I'll select 5,000 for my triangle count here, and I'll accept. And now I want to go over to displace, and I'll just move in a bit closer here. So what I want to do is displace with a 2D texture map, not Perlin noise here. I want to change this to texture 2D map, and I need to select here the displacement map, so I'll find that Rocky Puddle Ground displacement. And I'll set an intensity here. This is a little much, so maybe something like 5, probably be fine. And I can set the subdivisions here. I've already remeshed this to have a lot more triangles, so I don't probably need to subdivide it any more than this, but if you do, you can adjust that right there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and accept. All right, and so I'll switch back to select mode here, and I'll apply the material. There we go. All right, and so what I want to do is make this quite a bit bigger. So I'll scale this up, maybe 5 in all the axes. And let's just make, I'll copy this a couple of times here. I'll just use Alt and make a copy like that. And we'll select both of these. And I'll make make a copy again by holding Alt. Oops, all right. And what I'll do here is I'll just drag, add a third person character so I can walk around this scene here. I'll just go to add feature content pack, third person, add to project. And we'll just drag that in here. All right, and before I'll be able to walk around, I'll need to add collision to this static mesh. So first here though on my character, I'll just find possess, auto possess player 0. And now I'll open up that static mesh, and we'll add collision here. I'm going to add complex collision, so I'll search for that here, and I'll add the complex collision mesh is going to be my rocky plane. And collision complexity, I'm going to select use complex collision as simple. All right, so if I say show simple collision here, we can see that it's using the full mesh as the collision bounds. Okay, so I'll close that up, and what I'm actually going to do here is just right click this and say enable nanite. All right, and let's try it out. Let's walk around the scene here. All right, so here's our fully displaced texture that we made from scratch in Quixel. And we've got collision enabled here. Of course, with the IK on the feet, we can do something like that. And that's pretty much it. So that wraps up this tutorial. I hope that helps you out. Hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you in the next video.